Welcome to the Izhitwaawin podcast. My name is Alexander Amin, and with us today we have...
Chief Darwin Sumner.
Today we're in Redby, in the Red Lake Nation, and today's topic is trapping. With us today, Darwin Sumner is extremely knowledgeable with trapping, and I don't want to amp it up too much.
We'll see.
But so here at the Izhitwaawin studio, we try to talk about things that get people outside, that get people connected to culture, that get people simply engaged in their environment as a means to keep us away from addictions. And being as though Izhitwaawin Studio is a part of Red Lake Chemical Health, that's kind of how we try to talk about and educate for the next generation. And so, Darwin, do you feel like trapping has had any healing aspects in your life?
It has. And let me start by saying the chemical health program, it helped me back, what is that, 91 maybe? Close, 91, 92. And I asked for assistance in my struggles with alcohol. And the director's name at the time was Giles Hart. And I went over there due to a trapping experience that happened to me. And so he gave me some direction and told me what to do. And finally, I asked him, I says, could you help me? Because I think I need some help with my drinking. And he said he could and he would. And he said, when do you want to go? I says, well, as soon as I can. And so, he took me down to 401's treatment in Brainerd himself. And he explained to me what he expected of me. And for that $5,000 he was going to pay to send me through that treatment program. So I was pretty grateful for that. But after that, I did 30 days in treatment and found a new beginning, so to speak, with my first sweat lodge teaching. Changed my whole life. And thanks to chemical health, that was my life-changing event right there, is doing my first sweat lodge, and everything, smoking, drinking, it all quit instantly after that first sweat lodge. And I ain't kidding you. It was amazing to me, because that sweat lodge teaching, the two guys I was with in there, they found out stuff about me only my grandma knows. So, it was pretty powerful, man. It was life-changing. So, and then after I got out of the treatment, I started trapping. And I was doing a little bit before that, but it was all, I don't know, I just loved the woods so much, and I learned a lot in the woods. Kept me, how do you say, I was being disrespectful in that time because I was drinking in the woods and I was doing things in the woods that our ancestors wouldn't do, So I learned not to do that anymore. And so trapping, after my treatment, it was trapping season. And I was with a good friend of mine named Orville White, and we were out checking traps and snares and stuff, and I had set some snares for some bobcats and coyotes and fox, and I couldn't find this one snare, and I was asking Orville to come help me because it was getting late in the day, and he, let's go, let's just head out, and I said, nah. So I grabbed some Sema out the truck and offered some Sema to the creator and asked him for some help and direction and guidance on finding the snare, because I was really uncomfortable about that. And I put out my tobacco and I went back out there and went to this one tree, little bitty balsam tree. And there was this wolf laying there. I'm saying, what? How in the heck did this happen again? And I thought he was still alive because he wasn't froze. And when I went to, I touched him with a stick, he was still soft. And I was saying, well, where's the snare at? I couldn't see the snare around his neck or anything. And he wasn't tangled up in anything. And so I lifted him up, and there was a snare on his foot, his paw, and he just went in under that balsam tree and dug up some beer bottles and died right there. And I'm saying, holy man, this is powerful stuff. I mean, it was so powerful. I kind of broke down, and so that was another life-changing event for me. And
what do you think the message was with the beer bottles being there?
Being way out, I don't know how the wolf found him and dug him up out, but the message I got, don't drink anymore. So I haven't drank since that first sweat lodge teaching. And that first sweat lodge teaching was about a wolf I had an experience with 83, 84. So, but that's what that was all about, I believe. So, yeah, that was a powerful moment. A couple of powerful moments there within 45 days, I would say.
Do you think you were looking for messages, or were they just coming to you?
I think my buddy had talked about going to Fort Town that day and getting a 12-pack or two, and I said, nah, I don't think so. He said, come on, I'll buy you some pop and chips and stuff. I said, no, let's not do that. I says, I think I'm done with that. And that, right after that, that's when I found that wolf, and that kind of just said it all for me. I was done with that stuff. So I haven't looked back since with the alcohol. And so life's been good since then.
So, Darwin, why is it important for the next generation to know how to trap?
Well, there's several reasons why. Our ancestors were allowed to harvest animals for food, clothing, and they knew how to live in harmony and balance with the animals. So they knew how to take care of what they had, how much to harvest, and how important it was to make sure there was other, leave some for seed and don't take them all, so. And the kids, I used to work at the group home, and that's what we did. We did a lot of trapping, fishing, but there was always a safety issue, conservation aspect to it, and being outside and outdoors is probably really healthy. It gets you to burn off some of that energy. And our ancestors, they had to keep moving. Every day was probably a struggle for survival. So they had to be in shape and keep moving. And with our people, they had seasonal camps, so to speak. Springtime fishing, and summertime was fishing, and fall time was hunting. Well, not only summertime, but they had berry harvest and wild rice in the fall, hunting camps, and then in the wintertime they kind of went in, harvested all they needed for the wintertime to help them live through the harsh winters. And so, yeah, it's really important our young people know the history and of our ancestors and how important it was for us to keep things in balance and live in harmony with the animals.
Do you think that there are medicines in the animals?
Definitely. I like to tell the kids that the beaver and the muskrat, they eat medicine. The roots, the lily pad roots, and all the little water plants the muskrats eat, they're all medicine to us or to the animals, and then we eat the muskrats and the beaver, and that their flesh is the medicine that they eat is what we get through their flesh. So, and also the moose and the deer, the elk, buffalo, all eat grasses and medicines, and that's all medicine for us too. So, yeah.
So describe kind of like what would a trapping session be like for you? So like what's some of the first things you do to get ready? What do you see when you go out there first? So you kind of just walk us through what it's like trapping.
Well, first of all, it takes a little bit of scouting. So, and once you figure out where certain animals travel and how they travel, where they go, and just they're the creatures of habit, So, like in the wintertime, a fox and a coyote or a bobcat for that matter, they'll always step in the same track every, on their rounds. They'll kind of use the same trails, but they're always stepping in their track just like us. They always find the easiest route there is to cut through that snow. And some of the best places to look for scouting is around a beaver dam, because everything likes beaver. They got to be around the water. All animals like to eat beaver, bobcats, fox, fisher, marten. So you'll find a lot of animals around beaver dams, which is probably, I've caught fisher, fox. I've caught every animal at a beaver dam, just both sides of a dam, kind of gang set it up. But that's one of my best scouting tools is the beaver dams. Yeah.
And so you've scouted, you've identified a beaver dam. What are we doing next?
Well, depending on what you want to catch. I mean, if I'm gonna, like, in the fall time, I mean, your mink and muskrat and beaver, they all start first to trap, and then the otter and things come a little later as it gets colder and the furs start to get prime. So you just want to target the ones that you are allowed to harvest. In Red Lake, we haven't changed our laws, so we can harvest anything we want. And my ex-father-in-law, Rod Johns, he used to say as soon as the first couple of frosts of the year, then fisher get prime. And he was always wanting to go after fisher because that was. I don't eat a fisher. I would eat one if I had to in a survival situation, but no, not my favorite thing to. but the pelts were more. They're, I think back when we first started trapping together, me and my father-in-law, was Fisher were like 250. So he always wanted to go after Fisher. So yeah.
So then, what if we were talking beaver specific? So like, walk us through kind of a beaver set and what you're thinking about, what you're seeing, what you're smelling, what you're feeling, what time of the year is it?
Beaver dams are your most productive spots. They have crossovers. They have actually they'll have dams or dens built into the dam sometime if they're big enough. But what I'm looking for when it comes to beaver, I'm looking to get the older beaver in the banks. I kind of leave the houses alone because that's where the kits and the moms stay, the mothers. So, but the bigger ones are where the or the bank dens are where the bigger ones stay. And beaver can last about 15 minutes underwater. I've seen where they live clear across the lake, and it's quite a ways there. But they got little air pockets where they travel under the ice, so they stop and get little puffs of air on the way through there. So they have feed piles along their routes. So
What do you find in the feed pile? What's a beaver around here eating?
a beaver around here will eat anything if they're hungry. I mean, any kind of tree there is. I've seen them eat spruce trees and pine trees, but mostly they're aspen feeders. You know, they'll in the summertime they'll eat leaves and bark then too, but in the wintertime they make a cache of food under the ice, and they'll eat on that all winter. So, but I've seen them where they come out in the wintertime and hit the brush line because, you know, maybe the water has receded and they no longer can reach their food or they ate it all up, but they'll come out in the wintertime and hit the brush to get some more food. So had that happen too.
What kind of wood do you put in your beaver set if you're doing like a bait set?
Aspen trees, small aspens. Sometimes I'll hook them to the trigger or something, you know, and then a lot of times I'll just use the big poles with snares on them, and hanging about 4 or 5 snares on around that aspen tree. So.
All right, so you got a beaver in your trap. What are we doing next? How often are we checking that trap? And what do we do when we find one?
I like to check them every day. So, and when we get one, we'll skin it up, offer our tobacco for, you know, sacrificing his life for us, which I was told that all animals do for us is they sacrifice themselves to us. And we'll skin him up, get the medicine off of him, which is the castor sacs, and we'll take the hide off, flesh it and dry it, tan it. But before we do all that, we want to make sure and clean the animal up and quarter him and save him for consumption. And I don't like the big ones too much. I like the smaller ones because they don't taste so much like the populate, the aspen. The smaller ones are much better. So, yeah. So we don't waste it. Whatever we have left, I like to use for fisher bait. Yeah.
So if you don't eat it, something else will?
Something will, yep. Birds and everything else got to eat too, so.
So we skinned it. Kind of walk us through the process of skinning, and then with an emphasis on kind of just the hide itself. How do we get it from the live, well, the trapped beaver to like a finished pelt?
When you skin the animal, it's there's certain ways you skin certain animals. Like a beaver's open case skinning, like cutting around the bottom of the base of the tail, and then from there to the bottom of the chin, and then work sides, both sides. So you got when it comes off of the animal, it's a round circle. So and then after you get that off, you flesh them with a fleshing beam and draw knife, get all the meat and the fat off of it, and then you tack it up as round as you can get it on a board, and let it dry. And then it's up to you what you want to do with it after that. If you want to tan it, if you want to sell it. I know a lot of guys sell it. Because back in the day, a beaver and muskrat and a mink, let's say you were trapping mink, and one mink was worth 2 weeks' wages. And I remember my grandpa and him bringing home mink and said, okay, we don't have to go to work for a couple of days. So, and so a mink was worth $45. That was a lot of money back then. And the muskrats were like $6-7. Beaver were like $50 because they sold it by the inch back then. And depending on how big and beaver were pretty big. So it depends on what you want to, how you want to, if you want to tan it or if you want to sell it. So that's up to you.
So if you were going to tan it and keep it and do whatever you wanted to do with it, but so we got it cased, dried, then what if we're gonna keep it?
I've seen several different ways of tanning. People have different techniques. So, and a lot of YouTube videos now are all, I mean, you could probably go to 10 different guys and they'd have 10 different ways of tanning it, and it's all their style, Everybody has their own style. It's not anybody doing it wrong or anything. They just have a style that they learned. And so I see you had some here today that had after they're fleshed or put oatmeal on them. That's just to draw out the moisture in the hide. So and now your process would be to tan it in some sort of solution you want. And I see you got some solution sitting there. So yeah.
So, why do you take the youth out with you to engage in these outdoor activities? Why is that important, Darwin?
From my own personal perspective, I always told them, I said, this is one of the reasons why I want you guys to learn about being outside, fishing, hunting, trapping, harvesting, berries, just foraging for stuff. The woods itself is a healing experience. At least it was for me. And let me explain that to you. So when I was down in treatment, I asked this lady. I says, "Hey, when I was before I come here, I was struggling, but when I would walk in the dead of winter, and I'd be out there 30 below sometimes, just walking because it felt good and cold didn't bother me." And I told her these trees were popping. She says, it was the the trees healing you. And she says, that's what all the popping was. They're helping you. Yeah, it felt good walking through the forest like that. And she says, "Yep." So it kind of made sense to me. And then when I take the kids out there, I says, "This the experience of being in the woods is not to kill something, not to just go out there and damage the forest." I said, because our woods has a special healing for us. And I said, just go out and feel how good it is when you get out there, and take it in for a little while and then have fun. It's all.
Do you think that the woods can offer medicine in a way that helps people get away from substances?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If it helped me, it helped. It can help anybody. I tell you, man, I was one stubborn guy when I was young, and I didn't listen. I didn't pay attention to what well, especially my family, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, well, but when you get in the woods, if you pay attention and you listen, if you go out there by yourself and listen, you will feel it. You will not only learn it, but you will feel it. You feel the energy, and I don't know if you call it a power, but it's definitely a good feeling that makes you, the mama key gives you. She gives you that sense of healing. I just say that a lot because that's all it did for me, is heal me. So, yeah.
Miigwech, Darwin, thanks for joining us on today's podcast. We're here in Redby, Minnesota, Redby on the Red Lake Nation. This is Izhitwaawin Studios signing off. Gigawabaman.
Be good.